Georgian Dublin, teeming with memories of fine craftsmen in wood, metal, glass, iron, plaster, marble, gold and silver. We trace the old Dublin silversmiths from Michael's Hill, Skinner's Row and Castle Street, working in the shadows of Christchurch Cathedral, down to the silversmiths in Capel Street. The fine arts and skills of the old silversmiths, LaBosse and Power and Sawyer and West, are still very much alive in Dublin today. 5 Dublin men formed themselves into a family of silversmiths to earn their living doing their own thing. And just wait and see what that thing is. That's the designer and chaser, Tom Sharkey. Tom is designing a silver kettle, but it's really all teamwork, as everyone has a great interest in the other's job.
What do you think?
It looks a bit better now than the last one we done, isn't it? More in proportion.
Now, the castings on the job will be this entire piece here, 4 of those, the arm here, right, the finial, and the spout, which will be in 2 halves as normal, but they won't. They'll be solid. Yeah.
And what about up here, Tommy? Is the handle going to fit into this, will it?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, now, the original one of these was supposed to break there.
We're doing away with that swivel as we
At the bottom of the
agreed, right?
casting, yeah.
Yeah.
You're going to make this just one solid part, one
That's
solid
right, you can
piece.
swing, because you can spring
there's-
the handle into it.
Yeah.
See? There you are. This will have to be, of course, heavy gauge, as you were saying, John.
The silver bullion is kept in the safe. Now this silver disc is going to go right to the top of the charts, because that's the name of this company, the Royal Charter Silver.
It's the dairy-made kettle.
That's the new one, Jack.
Yes. And you want me to give you some sizes?
Size for the body, for the top of the lid.
Yeah.
Jackie Cook's the spinner.
So,
Now you've heard of the spinners in song. Well, Jackie's the spinner in silver. It's a highly skilled job to get that silver disc spun into the shape of a
11
kettle.
by 13 gauge.
and then the top will be 7 1/4 by 12 gauge, and the lid is 3 1/2. 12 gauge.
That's fine. Well, we have some circles here, Jack. We might be able to. Jack, this circle here is a little over 11 inches.
That's exactly what I want. 13 gauge. And
7
that-
inches.
yes,
That'll do for that, will it?
That'll do perfect, yes.
But will you go ahead and make up the chucks for this now? I think do it in hardwood initially.
Yeah.
Then we'll take it in polypanko when we've got the proven size
Yes,
of that.
yes.
Jackie has to first make the wooden chuck. Now this is a special type of wood. It's called lignum vitae. It's the same type of wood that the saddler has in his mallet. When the wood is chosen, it is mounted on the lathe, and it is turned down to the exact size that will suit the design of the kettle. The wooden chuck is now nearly the exact shape that Jackie requires, and all it needs now is a rub down with a piece of emery paper. The silver disc is mounted on the lathe in front of the chuck and centered. Jackie applies a drop of oil to allow the special chisel with a rounded end to glide across the silver. All that's required now is the skill of Jackie Cook. If Jackie continued to spin the silver non-stop, it would become very hard and brittle and could crack. He heats it until it's red hot. Dipped in cold water. This is called the annealing process. The silver is now soft again and can be put back on the lathe with a change of a chuck to continue the job. That reminds me of the missing silver slab. In the year 1829, Mr. West at Capel Street lost a silver slab between his premises and Chapel Lizard. Searches and rewards were in vain. The silver slab couldn't be found. 16 years later, a fellow walked into Chapman's, the Silversmiths at Essex Quay, threw the silver slab up in the counter and said, "How much will you give us for that?" Mr. Chapman took one glance at it. "Hold on," says he, till I get me glasses. Hopped out the back door and got the police. "Oh, holy, holy," says your man, "I'm innocent. I bought it off a shoemaker for ½ a crown." "Oh, Janie Max is the shoemaker, I'm innocent too. I found it at Island Bridge in the gutter. I didn't know its value, and I took it down to me shoemaker's shop in Leixlip, and for the last 16 years, I've been using it as a lapstone. All the same now, weren't the people of Leixlip very fortunate to be having their old boots and shoes mended on a silver slab?
Not the right size, all right. But,
No, I left that.
it's not really exactly the shape. Yeah, I think it needs to go in a little bit there. You see, it's too flat coming down there. Just in a little bit, Jack, near the top.
Yeah.
Maybe when we get the other parts of it done, you know?
Yeah.
Now that Jackie has finished turning the body of the kettle, it comes to John Carroll, the silversmith.
Slightly larger at the top on account of where you'll be trimming it off there.
That's grand, Jackie. Just a little bit low there. I'll have to make it up a little higher.
Very precise work here with the planishing hammer. John is adjusting and shaping the base ring so that it'll fit into the kettle stand. This is a coating of flux which helps to braze together the silver and the silver solder. Tom Sharkey is melting wax in order to cast a pattern. First he must make a rough shape in wire. This will be one of the 3 supporting feet of the kettle stand, which is in the shape of a lion's head. The wire is coated with layer upon layer of wax, a mixture of beeswax resin and Venice turpentine. He carves the design of the lion's features from the wax, using a modelling tool. Plasticine is prepared to bed the wax model of the lion up to the halfway mark. A shutter in a cardboard is placed around the plasticine to contain the plaster of Paris. As the mixture sets so fast, Tom must press on. In a matter of minutes it has set and the plasticine can be removed. The surface of the first half of the mould is coated with oil to ensure that the new plaster will not stick. Molten pewter will be used to fill the mould. The pattern is now cast. It's a bit like opening a Christmas box. You know, like the element of surprise. What's inside? Will it be exactly as the designer wants it? Or how much more foiling and chasing and shaping out has to be done? You must remember, this all started from a lump of wire. Tom's experienced eyes check over the pattern in detail. He quickly spots the places that need another little bit of filing and another little bit of chasing as the chaser is tapped out by the silversmith's hammer. When the pattern meets the designer's eye, it then goes on to be cast in silver in whatever quantity is required. John Carroll, the silversmith, is piercing the design around the top of the kettle. Now the design is ready to be snarled up. This is known as the repousse method, from the French, but it was first introduced to Ireland by an Irishman, John Sherwin Jr., and for it and other designs for silver, he received the freedom of the Goldsmiths Guild of Dublin, which was granted to him in the year 1812. The kettle is filled with a mixture of tallow, plaster of Paris, and archangel pitch. This is to give support to the silver while the chaser is working on the design, and to ensure that the silver will not cave in. Sean Carroll is the chaser. He's also the managing director of the company. His father, John, is the silversmith. So the Carrolls have been silversmiths in Dublin for generations. You know, this kettle is going to be a masterpiece. But sure, wasn't it the silversmiths that gave us the word masterpiece? A boy had to serve 7 years to the trade. And at the end of the 7 years, he had to design and chase a piece of silver. And that had to be brought to the master of the Silversmiths Trade Guild to be passed. And if it was passed, he qualified as a silversmith. So the piece became known as the Master's Piece. The kettle sure is on the boil now, but instead of tea water, it's the pitch mixture, which goes into a container to be used again. John burns off the carbon in preparation for the final assembly of the kettle. The next stage is the brazing of the lion's feet onto the kettle stand. The spout, which was cast in 2 halves, is skillfully soldered together. The temperature has to be just right. Too hot and it will melt the silver. Do you know, it's nearly a miracle to see silversmiths working in Dublin today. because after the Act of Union in 1800, the English silversmiths were allowed to assemble their English products, send them over to Dublin and have them hallmarked in Dublin and then sell them abroad as Irish manufacture. Now, why would they want to do that? For no other reason that Irish silver and Irish silversmiths were held in the highest esteem in every corner of the globe. The handle is made of man-made fibre, similar to ebony. They say that ebony can't be got. But sure, me mother had a black ebony china cabinet for years and years. I'd say that'd be worth a fair few bob today if we could find it, or if we knew who she gave it to. The kettle is nearly ready to receive its maker's mark and make its journey to Dublin Castle, to the assayer's office, to receive the company mark, the finest mark, and the year of manufacture mark, and be returned then to the silversmith for polishing and final stages. RCSL, Royal Charter Silver Limited. Tommy Mills, the polisher. Tommy is a highly skilled man. He's lectured in the United States of America on silver polishing. There's more to polishing silver than meets the eye. The first thing he has to do is apply a cold water cement. Stopping off, he calls it. This is left overnight to harden, so as to protect the fine chasing during polishing. It's a very complicated business. Look, Tommy, tell them yourself.
Walrus side and pumice powder, stay-pole mops and carbrags, stitch calico mops and luster, G-mops and high fin, swansdown mops, rouge and paraffin oil. And that's in sequence.
The pumice powder and walrus hide buff is for rough polishing, but you have to take it easy. You have to know what you're doing. Next, the grease mopping with heavy calico mops and a luster compound. Then it's the semi-finish. And the water of Éire stone is the right man for around the hinges. Very hot water with a mixture of mersal makes quick work of the cold water cement. It's now coming to the final stages with a rub down of swan's down mop, radio rouge and paraffin oil. Despite all that polishing, Tommy isn't satisfied until he gives it a personal rub down with the owl homemade duster.
How's it going, Tom? Finished?
Finished now, John.
Yeah. Looks fairly well, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, yeah. I'll tell you what.
I'll tell you what you can do anyway. As soon as we put it together, you can...
I can give it a rub up later on.
Yeah. That's fairly... Looks fairly well anyway.
There you are now. A masterpiece. Didn't I tell you? And you thought that silver craftsmanship was dead in Dublin.